Peter Zwack is a retired Brigadier General and a former U.S. Defense Attaché to Russia. He's also author of the book Swimming the Volga, a U.S. Army Officer's Experiences in Pre-Putin Russia. He joins us from Newport in the U.S. state of Rhode Island. General, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Firstly, we hear often of the military gains by both armies, but little on their losses. What do you think is the actual state of the conflict, particularly in East and South Ukrainian regions Russia says it's annexed?
It's been brutal and bloody by any standard for both sides. It's impossible, other than making a broad estimate, estimates of Russian dead are 20 to 30,000, wounded 50 to 70,000, and we have to think those wounded going back to Russia, many without limbs, PTSD. This continues the bad news that's going in. And the Ukrainians have suffered really, really tough losses in the really epic defense, but they have the will and the motivation. They're not a small country. I mean, they can put a lot of people in the field. So the losses have been terrible, but the Ukrainians have the will to fight. And we're watching the Russians melt away. And bad news is going into the Russian hinterland that this war for Russia is a horror.
With regard to those Ukrainian gains, do you think Moscow can hold off Kyiv's forces long enough to mobilize the hundreds of thousands of conscripted reserve troops before Ukraine can fully retake the east and south?
It's a great question. I think that what the Russians have on their side, and we've seen it now outside of Liman, we've seen outside of Kharkiv, the Ukrainians have momentum and initiative, and the Russians seem to be crumbling. And when defenses start to get soft and crumble, it can turn into a rout. And we may be seeing just the way they came out of Liman, and we're hearing now word in Kherson and Dnipro area that the Russians are beginning to melt away there. This is long from over. It's going to take weeks and months to get those 300,000. Some we hear are already in the fight, untrained. Many of them are middle-aged men that don't want to be there. It'll take. You have to train, you have to equip them, organize them, put them into units. I'm a military guy. It's hard when everything is sort of going right. Imagine how bad it is when everything's going wrong, and then the word is trickling up, probably not trickling up, raining up, if you will, coming up that this is a terrible fight, and the families are upset, and this is creating, I think, huge problems for Putin. It will take a long time to get all those forces in, especially in an organized way. If they ever can, they may crumble first.
Meanwhile, Russia says a new $625 million security assistance package announced by the U.S. risks a direct military clash between it and the West. Are you concerned this Ukrainian momentum, as you call it, could bring us closer to nuclear conflict?
That's always out there, all right? And I can't say it won't happen. It couldn't happen. However, I know that the United States and its allies have been very, very careful on these type of issues about not being drawn into directly engaging the Russians. However, it's a Russian. They made the invasion. They did it. They tried to, in a monstrous aggression, take down Ukraine. And yes, we have been supporting, and our allies have been supporting. The risk is there. I know everybody's paying attention. You can bet that there has been direct dialogue between U.S. and allied capitals with Moscow, meaning don't. There will be major repercussions. And I think that there are people in the Russian regime themselves, while they are really worried and support Putin, they're also going wobbly because this is getting crazy for a lot of them too.
General Peter Zwack, appreciate the analysis. Thanks once more for your time.